HSP Parenting Power. What if the very thing that makes parenting feel so hard is also what makes you extraordinary at it? You notice every shift in your child's voice. You feel their emotions before they speak them. You carry the weight of every cry, every chaos, every silence. And when it's all too much, when the noise, the mess, the demands rise like a tide, you feel it in your whole body. You wonder if you're weak. You wonder if you're failing. But what if? This isn't a flaw to fix, but a strength to understand. This is not a story about becoming less sensitive. It's about learning to lead from that sensitivity, to parent from the very heart that makes you feel everything so deeply. This is the secret strength of highly sensitive parents. Revealed. The misunderstood parent. It's 7:43 in the morning. You're already overstimulated. The toddler is crying because their socks feel wrong. Your older child just spilled cereal. Again. And the milk is dripping onto your only clean shirt. The dishwasher's beeping, someone's knocking at the door, and your partner is asking where the car keys are. Your brain is screaming, but you smile. You try to stay calm. You try to do it right. But inside, you're unraveling. Because for you, parenting doesn't just live in the schedule or the rules. It lives in the air, the tension, the tones of voice. You notice everything. Every sigh, every shift, every small hurt your child doesn't even know how to name yet. And when it gets too much, you retreat. Or you snap. Then comes the shame. That aching inner voice. Why can't I handle this like other parents seem to? You've read the parenting books. You've tried the routines. You've told yourself to toughen up. But the truth is, you're not like other parents. You are a highly sensitive parent. This isn't a label. It's a reality. Highly sensitive people, or HSPS, have nervous systems wired to take in more sensory and emotional input than most. You're not imagining the noise. You're not exaggerating the chaos. You literally process more data from your environment. Sounds, lights, feelings, energy. And when that environment is unpredictable, noisy, or emotionally intense, like parenting often is, your system hits overload faster than others. But here's the twist no one tells you. That same system that floods you is also what allows you to feel your child's needs before they speak them, to sense danger when others don't, to connect deeply, to love fiercely. You are not broken. You are wired for a different kind of parenting, one that the world desperately needs. Let's look at a few moments you might recognize. Scene 1. The school drop-off. Other parents are chatting in groups, relaxed, coffee in hand. You're holding your child's backpack, trying to soothe them through separation anxiety while your own heart feels like it's splitting in two. You say goodbye, walk to the car, and suddenly feel tears press against your eyes. Not because of the moment, but because of everything the moment carried. Scene 2. The family gathering. It's loud. Too many conversations at once. Your child is overstimulated, and so are you. You notice their fidgeting, their nervous glances, their need to leave, while others dismiss it as shyness. You carry the weight of two nervous systems, theirs and yours, all while pretending everything is fine. Scene 3. The meltdown. Your child is losing it, yelling, kicking, crying. You hold on as long as you can. But the noise, the emotion, the chaos, it crashes into your chest. You raise your voice, maybe slam a door, Then comes the guilt. You apologize, hug them close, and spend the rest of the night wondering if you're ruining them. If any of this feels familiar, know this: you're not alone. You're not too much. You are simply tuned differently, and this difference holds a secret strength. This audiobook is your journey, not to become less sensitive, but to become more aware, more resourced, more at home in your own parenting style. You'll learn why you feel things so deeply. You'll discover tools to manage overwhelm without shutting down. And you'll finally see your parenting heart, not as a weakness, but as a quiet, powerful gift. Because being a highly sensitive parent isn't about surviving each day. It's about seeing, truly seeing, yourself. And knowing that your sensitivity is not the problem. It may be the very thing your child needs most. Chapter 1. The Hidden Science of Sensitivity. Imagine two parents standing in the same living room. The first one hears the TV in the background but tunes it out. They step over toys, notice the baby fussing a bit, and calmly start dinner. The second parent, you, walks in, and everything registers. The volume of the TV feels piercing. The toys on the floor feel like an obstacle course. The baby's cries? They don't just sound loud. They feel urgent, almost unbearable as if. They're echoing inside your own chest. This is the difference that science now explains. You feel more because you process more. Highly sensitive people, or HSPS, make up roughly 15 to 20% of the population. It's not a disorder. It's not a personality flaw. It's a trait, rooted in the way your brain and nervous system are wired. Research shows that HSPS have increased activity in areas of the brain related to awareness, empathy, and emotional processing. React more intensely to sensory input like sound, light, smell, and texture. Experience mirror neuron activity at higher levels, meaning you physically feel the emotions of others more deeply. As a parent, this can feel like a blessing and a curse. You pick up on your child's distress faster than others might. But you also pick up on everything else. Background noise, clutter, arguments, even your partner's tension from across the room. It's like parenting with all your senses turned up to full volume. Scene. The morning rush. It's 8:01. You're trying to pack lunches, find matching socks, and keep your cool. But your child is whining about toast. The radio is playing a loud ad. Your partner's pacing back and forth looking for their phone. And suddenly your chest tightens. You can't think. You can't breathe. You want to scream. Not because you're angry, but because your brain is overloaded. This isn't about weakness. It's about overstimulation. HSPs take in more stimuli and process it more deeply. Your brain is doing more work, constantly scanning for threats, needs, and subtle shifts in energy. And when the input exceeds your internal resources, it spills into overwhelm. You parent with a sixth sense. But here's the beauty hidden within this overwhelm. Because you process more, you notice more. You notice when your child's voice shifts ever so slightly, signaling they're about to cry. You see when their play becomes rougher, signaling frustration before it becomes meltdown. You feel when they're not telling you the full story, not because of words, but because of the energy. This kind of parenting is often invisible to others. You're not congratulated for the fight you prevented, the emotion you soothed, or the disaster you diverted. But these are moments of deep sensitivity. and they are acts of love. Scene: the playground insight. You're watching your child on the playground. They're playing with another kid. And at first, everything seems fine. But you notice the way your child starts glancing back at you more often. Their shoulders tense. They laugh. But the laughter is tight, not joyful. Something's off. You walk over just as the other child grabs the toy out of their hand. Your child's eyes well, with tears. No one else noticed. But you felt it coming. This is your sensitivity at work. Quiet, invisible, powerful. Sensitivity is not the same as fragility. One of the greatest misunderstandings about highly sensitive people, especially parents, is the idea that sensitivity equals weakness. But strength is not just about endurance or stoicism. True strength is presence. It's discernment. It's the ability to respond rather than react. HSPs, when supported and aware of their wiring, are among the most attuned, protective, and emotionally intelligent parents. But the key is this: awareness. Without awareness, sensitivity turns into self-blame, shame, and burnout. With awareness, it becomes a superpower. Scene: the late-night spiral. Your child is finally asleep. The house is quiet, but you're lying awake, your heart racing. Replay after replay of the day runs through your head. Did I yell too much? Did they feel safe? Why couldn't I stay calm? This level of emotional reflection isn't weakness. It's evidence of how deeply you care. You parent not just from the surface, but from your soul. And that's what makes you powerful, even on the days when it feels like you're falling. Apartment: why sensitivity is exactly what today's children need. We're raising children in a loud world. A world that moves fast, talks over pain, and rewards toughness over tenderness. Highly sensitive parenting offers something different. A space where feelings are heard, not dismissed. A relationship based on connection, not control. A model of emotional presence, not perfection. When you parent with sensitivity, you give your child permission to feel. You show them that emotion is not an enemy. It's a language. And that creates not just obedient children, but emotionally intelligent humans. Summary: reframing the trait. So, here's what to remember. You're not crazy for feeling overwhelmed. Your brain is simply processing more. You're not weak. You're highly aware. You're not failing. You're navigating parenting with extra layers of intensity. And most of all, you're not alone. You were never meant to parent like everyone else. You were meant to parent like you, deeply, intuitively, fiercely. And that begins with accepting that sensitivity is not the problem. It's the path. Chapter 2: the inner world of an HSP parent. From the outside, you look like any other parent. You're doing the school run, folding laundry, making snacks. But on the inside, you're holding an entire unseen world. The world of the highly sensitive parent is layered, complex, and often misunderstood. It's not just what happens, it's how deeply it's felt. Scene: the small comment that stays. It's a passing remark. A relative chuckles and says, "You're too soft with the kids. They're going to walk all over." You smile politely, you nod. But hours later, that sentence is still echoing. Not because you're thin-skinned, but because it hit your core. You start questioning yourself. Am I too soft? Am I ruining them by being too gentle? That's the HSP mind. It doesn't just brush things off. It turns them over, examines them, tries to learn from them. Even when it hurts. You're not overreacting. You're over-processing. In a single hour, your mind might run through. Your child's strange look this morning. Are they okay? That sharp tone you used. Did it hurt them? A headline you saw. Is the world safe for them? Your own rising anxiety. Will they pick it up from you? This constant emotional activity can feel like parenting on hard mode. Not because you don't love your children, but because you feel responsible for every layer of their emotional experience. And if you feel like you're always on the edge of too much, there's a reason. HSP parents carry the emotional temperature of the home, even when it's not their own. You notice your child's moods before they speak. You feel your partner's tension before they express it. You sense when the house feels off, even if nothing is visibly wrong. This makes you a powerful emotional barometer. But it also makes you vulnerable to burnout. Because without support, you absorb everything, like an emotional sponge that never gets wrung out. Scene, dinner table, dissonance. You're sitting at dinner. One child is quiet, the other fidgety. Your partner's trying to make conversation, but you sense frustration behind their words. Everyone's eating. No one is yelling. To an outsider, it looks fine. But inside, you feel a growing tightness. You can't relax. You can't name it. But you know something is off. You finish the meal, do the dishes, and carry that unspoken tension to bed. Your nervous system, still on high alert, refuses to settle. This is the cost of deep emotional attunement, especially when there's no space for. Release you love deeply, and you tire easily. HSPs are capable of extraordinary love. You pour your heart into your child's smallest joys and biggest fears. You remember the songs they love, the questions they ask, the fears they whisper before sleep. But this intensity of care has a shadow. You're always on. Even in rest, your brain is processing. What did I miss? How can I support them better? Was I too harsh? This leads to emotional fatigue, even when nothing dramatic is happening. Not because you're broken, but because you're wired to feel more. And feeling more costs more. Scene, the night you can't parent anymore. The day was long. Meltdowns, errands, missed naps. You finally get the kids to bed. You sit down, and the silence hits you like a wave. Suddenly, you feel empty, detached, number. The guilt creeps in fast. Why can't I enjoy them more? Why am I so drained from just being a parent? This is not a failure of love. It's a failure of capacity. Your well has run dry, and HSP parents need more time and more solitude to refill it. You're not failing. You're feeling. There's a big difference between being overwhelmed and being incapable. Your moments of collapse aren't proof that you're doing it wrong. They're signals that you're running at a higher sensitivity setting in a world not designed for it. You are processing every tantrum, every tone, every glance. You're watching for danger, soothing fears, interpreting needs, all while managing your own inner world. Of course you're tired, but tired doesn't mean unworthy. It means you're giving and feeling more than most. Scene, the unexpected beauty. You're sitting with your child after a long day. They're telling you a story about a bug they found. Their words are scattered, their hands animated. And you? You're watching their face, the way their eyes light up, the rhythm of their voice, the way they feel safe in your presence. Tears rise, uninvited, not because you're sad, but because you're moved, because you feel the beauty in ordinary moments with a depth that startles even you. This is your gift. You see magic in the mundane. You hold wonder in places others overlook. You parent from the heart, but you need protection. Your emotional depth is your power, but even the deepest heart needs boundaries. Even the most loving parent needs rest. Even the most sensitive soul needs protection from emotional overload. In the next segment, we'll explore how this depth, when unprotected, can lead to quick, unexpected bursts of anger. Not because you're not loving, but because you're running on empty. We'll look at the science and shame behind the overwhelmed HSP parent who snaps, and how awareness can turn reactivity into repair. Because your emotions don't make you a bad parent. They make you a present one, learning, evolving, and still worthy. Even on the hardest days. You love your child with your whole being. You anticipate their needs. You listen. You soothe. You carry their emotions like they're your own. Because, in many ways they are. But then there's a moment, a slammed cupboard, a yell louder than you meant, a sharp, angry word that cuts through the room like lightning. And immediately the guilt crashes down. You didn't want to react that way. You promised yourself you wouldn't. But you did. Not because you're a bad parent, but because you're an overwhelmed one. Scene: the spilled cup that breaks you. It's been one of those days. You've navigated a tantrum, a missed nap, 2 phone calls, and a headache that's been building since breakfast. Your child is sitting at the table, fidgeting. You turn for just a second and crash. The juice hits the floor. You hear it before you see it. And before your mind can catch up, your voice is rising. Seriously? I told you to sit still. Your child freezes. Their face falls. Time slows. The weight of your words settles. Shame wraps around you like a fog. The sensitive parent's inner explosion. What just happened? A small accident, one of dozens that happen in any family, sent you into a burst of anger. But this wasn't really about the juice. It was about everything that came before the juice. The overstimulation, the noise, the tension, the 27 other things you manage without anyone noticing. And this one moment, this one spill, was the last straw. This is how it often works for highly sensitive parents. You hold so much for so long. You stay composed, gentle, responsive, until your nervous system flips from flooded to fire. Why HSP? Brains reach the edge faster. The sensitive brain is always running, always scanning, always interpreting. What sounds like normal background noise to others might feel like an assault to you. What seems like a regular day might feel like an emotional storm, too subtle for anyone else. To see, but real to your system. Science confirms that HSPs experience greater reactivity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, heightened mirror neuron activity, causing you to absorb others' emotions, increased sensory input with less filtering. In other words, your threshold is lower, not because you're weaker, but because your system is more active. It's not that you're angry. It's that you're flooded. The anger isn't random. it's a release. Your body reaches a limit and does what it can to protect you. It erupts. It demands space. It forces a stop. That yell? It's a survival signal from your nervous system, screaming, "Too much. No more." But unlike a smoke alarm, which alerts and moves on, you, the sensitive parent, stay. Behind in the wreckage. Picking up the pieces. Feeling every echo of what just happened. What we often miss, the depth of the aftermath. For many HSP parents, the aftermath of anger is harder than the anger itself. You don't just regret yelling. You question your entire worth as a parent. You spiral through thoughts like, "I've damaged them. I'm not fit to raise someone so innocent. What if I'm repeating the cycle I swore I'd break?" This emotional aftermath isn't weakness. It's sensitivity turned inward, often without mercy. But there is a better way forward. And it begins not by removing your anger, but by understanding it. There's a silence after the storm. The yelling stops. The child calms down. The routine carries on. But inside the highly sensitive parent, something lingers. It isn't just regret, it's shame. That deep, aching voice that whispers, "You ruined it." They're afraid of you. You're no better than the parent you swore you wouldn't become. The shame doesn't yell. It seeps. It rewrites the story of who you think you are. Scene. Alone in the bathroom. You close the bathroom door. You sit on the edge of the tub, head in your hands. Outside, the world carries on. Toys being picked up. Little feet running, the hum of daily life. But inside, you're holding back tears. Not because you don't love your child, but because you do. So much that every mistake feels like a scar on your soul. And it's in this hidden space, behind closed doors, that many HSP parents quietly suffer. Why the shame runs so deep? Sensitive parents often carry a powerful inner compass. You want to do it right. You need harmony. You feel everything. So when you lose your temper, it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like a personal failure. Your nervous system, already overloaded, doesn't just experience the anger, it relives it over and over again. You don't just think, "I got overwhelmed." You think, "I might be unsafe. I might be damaging. I might be too much." This is how over-responsibility shows up in highly sensitive parents. You believe everything is your fault because you feel everything so intensely. The myth that keeps you stuck. Here's a myth that many HSP parents carry, silently. If I were truly loving, I would never get angry. But love and anger are not opposites. In fact, your anger often arises because you love so fiercely. You want your child to feel safe, heard, happy. And when the chaos builds, when the energy spikes, when the emotions run high, and you can't hold it together, it feels like love itself has failed. But love has not failed. Capacity has. Scene. A moment revisited. Later that night, your child is asleep. The house is still. You stare at the ceiling and replay the moment in your mind. The look on their face, the sound of your voice, the quiet that followed. You want to take it back, but you can't. So you do what HSPs often do. You turn the blame inward, you withdraw, you decide you're not enough. But what if this moment isn't proof of failure, but proof that something needs to change? Not in your love, not in your child, but in the space you give yourself to be human. The quiet invitation, hidden inside shame. Shame says, you're a bad parent. Awareness says, you're overwhelmed. Shame says, you should know better. Compassion says, you've been doing your best without support. You don't need to carry your guilt like a punishment. You can use it as a mirror, a message, a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what did I need in that moment that I didn't get? Where can I make space for myself before the next spiral begins? What would I say to a friend who felt this way? The answers will be soft, gentle, and honest. And they'll start shifting you from survival into something better. In the next section, we'll move from guilt to growth, learning what it takes to break the pattern before it begins. We'll explore how highly sensitive parents can build emotional buffers, recognize warning signs, and begin the practice of regulation, not repression. Because your goal is not to never feel anger. It's to meet that anger with enough space that it doesn't have to explode. Imagine a glass filling slowly with water. Each drop is small, barely noticeable. A spilled cup, a loud toy, a fight between siblings, a snarky comment from your partner, another sleepless night. Each drop adds up, until, without warning, the glass overflows. This is what happens in the nervous system of a highly sensitive parent. The spiral doesn't begin with anger. It begins with accumulated overstimulation and the absence of pause. But what if you could recognize the buildup before the overflow? What if you could create space before the break? You can. It starts with learning your signals and giving yourself permission to respond. Step 1. Know your early signs. HSP parents rarely go from calm to rage in an instant. There are signs, quiet whispers, that your system is approaching its edge. You might notice a growing tension in your chest or shoulders, sounds that feel sharper, even painful, a feeling of being trapped or needing to escape, repeating thoughts like, I can't do this, or everyone needs something from me. These are not moments to push through. They're moments to pause, to say, inwardly or aloud, I'm reaching my limit. The earlier you notice, the easier it is to shift direction. Scene, catching the rising wave. Your child is starting to cry. Again. You feel the familiar pressure building in your head, the frustration bubbling in your chest, your thoughts getting louder. This time, you don't push through. You say quietly, I need a breath. You step into the next room. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe. Once, twice, 3 times. It's not dramatic. It's not perfect. But it's enough to interrupt the spiral. You return with softness instead of sharpness. That's not just parenting. That's emotional leadership. Step 2. Create micro moments of regulation. You don't need an hour alone in the forest to reset your nervous system, though it would. Help. You need tiny moments of regulation woven into your day. Examples. Close your eyes and take 10 deep belly breaths before school drop-off. Step outside for 60 seconds and feel your feet on the ground. Put on noise-canceling headphones while cooking dinner. Set a timer on your phone that reminds you to pause and check in with your body. These small acts aren't indulgent. They're maintenance. They prevent buildup. They protect your calm. They preserve your connection. Step 3. Speak your limits. Out loud. One of the most powerful tools a highly sensitive parent can develop is this phrase: I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need a moment. Not only does it prevent outbursts, it teaches your child that emotions are safe, speakable, and manageable. It shows them that even big feelings don't have to lead to chaos. That space is a solution. That regulation is learned. And the more you say it, the easier it becomes to believe it for yourself. Scene: a different ending. It's dinner time. Everyone's talking. The baby's crying. The microwave is beeping. You feel the edge coming, but instead of snapping, you stand up. You say, I need a break. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Your partner nods. Your child looks surprised, but curious. You go to the bathroom, splash cold water on your face. You breathe. You return. The chaos hasn't disappeared, but you have changed, and that changes everything. You don't need to be calm all the time. You just need to catch yourself before the tipping point. To notice, to name, to step away and return with love. This is what builds emotional resilience. This is what your child remembers. Not your outbursts, but your repair. You are not a ticking time bomb. You are a deep well of emotion, learning how to protect your peace. And every time you pause before the spiral, you reclaim a little more power. In the next chapter, we'll explore your often unseen strengths. The gifts you may have, overlooked in yourself because they've been drowned out by guilt, shame, or noise. You'll discover that beneath the overstimulation, there's intuition, empathy, fierce presence. These are not soft traits, they're legacy traits, and they're what make you exceptional. Chapter 4: Empathy and Presence. Your superpowers in disguise. You may not always feel like the strongest parent, but strength doesn't always look like authority. Sometimes strength looks like attunement. Like knowing your child is upset before they speak. Like hearing something in their silence. Like offering a hug before they even know they need it. This is your superpower, empathy and presence. And you use it every day, even when no one else sees it. Scene: the wordless check-in. Your child comes home from school, quiet. No tantrum, no story, just quiet. You scan their face. They're not angry, not sad, but off. You sit beside them, no pressure, no questions. After a few minutes, you gently say, you don't have to talk, but I'm here. They exhale. Later, they say, today was hard. And the story unfolds. A conflict, a feeling, a moment they didn't know how to carry. You didn't pull the words out. You created space for them to rise. That's presence. That's power. Your brain is always reading the room. You're not imagining things when you just know how your child feels. Research shows highly sensitive people have heightened activity in the insula, the part of, the brain responsible for emotional awareness and internal sensing. You pick up micro-expressions. You notice tone. You absorb emotion. This isn't just emotional labor. It's emotional leadership. And in parenting, this matters more than you realize. Scene: the grocery store breakdown. You're in the checkout line. Your child is getting fidgety, restless. You feel your own stress rising. The noise, the people, the pressure to hurry up. Then you see it. The wobble in their lip, the flicker in their eyes. You know it's coming. Before the meltdown explodes, you crouch down and whisper, almost done. you're doing so. Well, let's count to 10 together. They breathe with you. They calm. The tantrum never comes. No one around you sees what just happened. But you do. You caught the storm before it broke. That's not luck. That's sensitivity, skillfully applied. You notice what others miss. You remember small things. The way your child wants their sandwich, their favorite color this week, the name of the imaginary friend who comes and goes. You don't forget these things because they matter to you, and because you know they matter to your child. This level of emotional memory builds connection. It tells your child, I see you. You matter to me. I remember. And in a noisy world that forgets so easily, being remembered feels like being loved. Intuition and protection. The strength you don't brag about. You may not always have the words, but you often know without needing them. You feel when your child needs a different kind of comfort. You sense when something's off, even if no one else notices. This is your intuition. And in a world full of noise, comparison, and parenting advice, it's your quiet compass. Always pointing toward what's right for your child. Scene. The decision. You couldn't explain. Your child was invited to a birthday party. Everyone said to go. It would be fun, a chance to socialize, good for them. But something in you felt uneasy. It wasn't fear exactly, just a tug. So you said no. Later, you found out there was a lot of chaos. Loud, unstructured, overwhelming. Another. Child left in tears. Yours could have too. You couldn't explain the feeling, but you trusted it. And it made all the difference. That's not being too cautious. That's parenting with instinct, a form of wisdom often underestimated, but deeply needed. You feel danger early, and you act. Highly sensitive parents are often the first to notice when something isn't right. A child suddenly pulling away from a friend. A new caregiver whose tone feels subtly cold. A routine that seems to stress your child more than it should. You act on these intuitions even when others brush them off. And sometimes, that makes you feel paranoid or difficult. But protecting your child's emotional world requires this kind of attunement. You're not overreacting. You're simply responding to information most people don't even register. Seen. The unseen protector. Your child is on the playground. Another kid pushes, then laughs. No one else notices. The adults are chatting. The teacher glances, then looks away. But you see your child shrink. A flash of confusion, of hurt, of shame. You walk over, not in anger, but in presence. You crouch to your child's level, check in, hold their hand, stay near. That presence changes the moment. Your child feels it. Someone saw me. Someone stood with me. I matter. That's protection. Not loud, not aggressive, but deeply effective. You create safety. Others can't see. Your child doesn't just need rules. They need felt safety. The kind that lives in tone, in body language, in responsiveness. And this is where you shine. You offer calm touch when your child is wound up. You speak softly when their feelings are big. You notice when they need closeness, even if they're pushing away. These actions teach your child something no rulebook can. My emotions don't scare you. You're not going to leave when it gets hard. You're safe. That's not a parenting trick. That's emotional grounding. And it's something you do instinctively. The strength no one applauds. You may never get praise for saying no to the playdate, or staying behind at the party, or pulling your child aside before a meltdown. But those moments, the ones others miss or dismiss, are where your deepest strength lies. The strength of protection, of perception, of quiet, unwavering love. You don't need to be louder. You need to trust what you already know. Next, we'll move into one of the most underestimated traits of all. Your ability to create. Emotional legacy. To model emotional intelligence in a way that lasts for generations. Emotional legacy. The quiet impact that lasts. You may not always feel like you're doing enough. You may lie awake at night, replaying the moments you wish you'd handled differently. You may wonder if the calm you offer, the apologies you whisper, the softness you bring, are really shaping anything at all. But here's the truth. You are creating something that lasts far beyond today. You are building your child's emotional blueprint, moment by moment, breath by breath. And the impact of that? It's quiet now, but one day it will echo. Scene. The after-meltdown repair. Your child had a hard day. You were both tired. Words were said. Emotions flew. Later, when the storm has passed, you sit beside them. You take their hand and say, "I got overwhelmed earlier. I shouldn't have spoken that way. I'm sorry. I'm learning too." They nod quietly. That moment doesn't erase the tension, but it teaches something deeper than any rule. That love doesn't require perfection. That adults can apologize. That mistakes are part of relationships, and so is repair. You just planted a seed. You're modeling what you never got. Many HSP parents are breaking generational patterns. You weren't given tools for emotional safety. You're learning them while raising someone else. You may be the first in your family to say, "It's okay to cry. Take your time. I hear you." You don't have to be okay right away. These phrases, so simple on the surface, carry power. They say, you're allowed to exist here, feelings and all, and that changes a life. It changes how your child will speak to themselves, how they'll raise their own children one day. It changes the emotional climate of your entire family line. Scene. The unexpected imitation. One day, you hear your child speaking to their sibling. Softly, patiently. "It's okay to be mad. I'll wait with you." You stop in your tracks. You didn't teach them that line. Not directly. But they heard it, felt it, lived it, from you. This is how legacy works. It's not what you say once. It's what you live over time. And even when you feel like you're messing it all up, you're still transmitting something. Powerful, that emotion is not a threat. That closeness can survive conflict. That love can be both soft and strong. Your child will remember how it felt to be with you. They might not remember the perfect snacks, the screen time battles, the messy laundry or the car rides home, but they will remember the feeling of being held when they cried, the way your voice softened when they needed comfort, the feeling of being known fully. Your sensitivity is the vessel for all of that. And one day, long after they've grown, they'll face something hard. And without thinking, they'll breathe deeply, speak gently, or pause before yelling. And they won't realize it right away. But that skill came from you. You are not just raising a child. you are changing a pattern. Your empathy, your self-reflection, your willingness to repair. These are acts of generational healing. Not dramatic, not flashy, but profound. So, even when you feel like you're failing, when you lose your patience, when you wish you'd done it differently, when you're just holding on through the evening routine, remember this: you are not parenting from perfection. You're parenting from intention. And that is more than enough. In the next segment, we'll explore how to stop comparing yourself to the ideal parent myth. And finally, claim your own rhythm, your own rules, and your own enoughness. Because you were never meant to parent like the world around you. You were meant to parent like you. And that is your greatest strength.